And 3, 2, 1. Haha! Yes! What's going on, fish nerds? Welcome back. You may remember a month or two ago when we set this tank up, I told you about how that it had the black stand that we sanded down, or rather my wife did. She sanded it down, re-stained it, and refinished it and just got it looking so nice. And she wanted to do the same thing to the 55-gallon as well, and I told you about that. But now look at this. Check this out, guys. I think this turned out really awesome. Got a nice rich color to it. It matches the other one perfectly, so all the furniture in the room in here matches now. At least all the tanks are the exact same stain, and they're really close to the other furniture that we've gotten here. It's looking a little more red on camera than it does in person, but it turned out really good. Really happy with it. And the other really cool part about that is this is now a blank slate, because everything that was in this tank is now in the corner tank. So with this blank slate, here's what I'm thinking about doing. I've got these two pieces of Malaysian driftwood. This one was in the 75-gallon out in the garage. This was already in this tank before we broke everything down. It was just kind of over in that corner off by itself and had the Amazon sword coming out from behind it. Really wasn't using that piece of wood to its full potential. I mean, because look at all the character in that. I mean, that's a really nice looking piece of wood. This one as well. So I'm kind of thinking of taking an unconventional approach. If you read much or watch much about aquascaping, iwagumi, if I'm pronouncing that right, is where you generally just use nothing but rocks. But if you've ever looked at a lot of those scapes, generally you'll have one big rock going one direction, a smaller rock going another direction, a third smallest, you know, going maybe the same as the bigger one, but you're getting directions from just big pieces of rock, and then you scape all around that. I'm thinking of kind of doing that with this Malaysian driftwood, since we do have a lot of these directional lines, and I'm thinking I may prop this one up, get it going diagonal up this way, and kind of do the same here going off that way. And I played with it a little bit. I think I can even match this up in this little crook and get it to look like it's almost looking like it's one piece of wood, which should turn out pretty sweet. And I've got a bunch of Eco Complete we're going to put in here, so we're going to start with that. But I'm excited to get started on this scape, and we'll see how it turns out. But let's get started. Alright guys, so we got our substrate in, and this is what we've got with the hardscape so far. I like this a lot. This actually turned out better in real life than it did in my mind. We've got this one big piece coming up real good. We got this piece coming out, and found this little piece here in another tank in the fish room, and I was like, you know what, I think that would look good. So I pulled it, and so there's actually 3 pieces of wood here. It looks like all one thing almost. It all just flows really good together. That just looks like it's another extension off of this piece. And honestly, I'm really happy with it. I think it's gonna look really cool, especially once we get the rest of the hardscape. Well, I'm gonna use some rocks in here, and then when we get all the plants in, we've got a cool little cave There's going to be some things that'll appreciate that go into this tank. I do need to decide though what I'm going to do as far as rock in this tank. Originally I thought I would need some bigger pieces to kind of offer some structural integrity, maybe hold up substrate in a few places and support this wood. Doesn't look like I'm going to need that. It looks like it's all pretty stable and everything's going to stay where it needs to. So I may not need to use those same pieces, but then again, they may just look better anyway. I've got some petrified wood with some nice lines in it that may, you know, work with these directions and stuff and just give it a good look. Or it may look better with, you know, some smaller river stones. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna have to play around with it, and we'll see what looks best. All right, guys, so I apologize. I forgot to turn the camera on while I was putting these rocks in here. I tried out the petrified wood, and the pieces I've got are just way too big to fit in this scape. It just didn't look right at all. So I ended up going with some of these river stones that I've got that I collected a year and a half or so ago from my in-laws' place. Just kind of going, you know, with some angles here. You'll see this one angles up, this one angles up, that one I've got pointed that direction just to kind of match this. But then at the same time, I'm kind of bringing it down here to kind of angle down the foreground area. I'll have some, I'm planning on some Monte Carlo in this area here, and so that'll kind of be a barrier between our foreground and our background plants. I've got some Rotala Vietnam I plan on putting back here real thick to cover up all this equipment and fill in this area here really well. I'm really happy I've got this mounded up spot. When you look at it from above, it's just like there's a planter area, which is pretty cool. Got some plants I got going back there, and then same story with the rocks here, where this side is kind of angled out this way. That's kind of the way I've got the rocks, kind of angled up, angled up, angled up. Got that one sticking out a little bit to kind of, again, give us kind of a separator between the foreground and the background. Background plants here are still going to be relatively low. I want it to be higher on this side of the tank, lower on this side of the tank, especially since, you know, we can do some viewing from this angle with this side being open. We'll have some lower background plants here, which would typically be, you know, foreground and midground plants, and I'm going to use them as background plants. And got a bunch of dwarf hairgrass that we're going to fill in all this area here. And let me know what you think. I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, I'm not a professional aquascaper, but I'm thinking this is the best hardscape I've personally ever done. Not saying that it's awesome, it's just the best that I've ever done. So, not that that's all that great. Oh, I also did find another piece of jagged Malaysian driftwood and stuck that in there, which kind of takes this effect out a little further, a lot closer to that corner, which is great. I really like this effect here with the extra pieces, just adding to that a lot. Really like this. I'm getting pretty excited, but the next step is adding plants. Alright, we're going to start off with our carpet of dwarf hairgrass. This is a Dennerle tissue culture, which I have not yet worked with any Dennerle plants before. I'm excited to try it out. Chris Lukop actually hooked me up with this at the Aquatic Experience. He actually just was generous enough to just give me a whole flat of this, as well as 2 of these of the hygrofila pinnatifida. So excited to work with that stuff. So we're going to do that first before we move on to our other plants. Alright guys, so here's how it stands right now. We've got our pinnatifida super glued onto this wood here in a couple strategic places. One over this hole right here to kind of cover up that little cave area. Then also in this little nook here, right there in the crack, right there in the crack where the two pieces of wood meet to kind of disguise that a little bit. As that grows in, you won't even be able to tell that it's two different pieces of wood anymore as that fills in. Then got our hairgrass all in here, and I had so much of the hairgrass and I was only putting it in this one space that I just put it in really thick. Planting hairgrass, it doesn't need to be this thick going in, but I had a lot to work with and wasn't putting it in a whole lot of space. And then got a Nubius Nana Petite there in the corner there. Just had that in another tank, thought it would look good in that little crook in the wood, so grabbed that and super glued that in there. But then I got the Monte Carlo through here, and there's a few rough leaves on the Monte Carlo, and I understand that it'll grow in, it'll fill in, and get all full. But honestly, I'm considering pulling this right back out. I mean, I don't want to have just bought it and then not use it, so I would find another use for it in another tank. But looking at this hairgrass and how good it looks over here, and then it stops and we go into the Monte Carlo and it's so much different. Not to say that the Monte Carlo won't look good once it grows in. I just really like the hairgrass look, and now that I have it over here, even though in my mind I thought, oh, it'll look good to have something a little bushier over here, have the hairgrass over here. Once we get out of theory and into practice, I'm not loving it. So I may well pull this stuff back out and put it in a different tank. And I do have 2 more cups of the hairgrass that I can, you know, put through here, and I may even pull some plugs out of this, because again, you don't need to plant it that thick. It will fill in. It's hairgrass, so I might pull some from here and then spread it out over here and use the 2 remaining cups that I've got to take the hairgrass all the way across the front and just have that uniform look in the foreground all the way across is what I'm probably going to end up doing. But before I do it, I am going to just go ahead and put our stem plants in the back and see how things look. Maybe that changes my mind once other things are in there. Maybe not. We'll see. But that's kind of the direction I'm leaning. I also have a dwarf aquarium lily that I'm going to find a spot for in here. So I'm going to move on to that, do the stem plants, and then we'll reconvene and decide what we're going to do about the hairgrass and Monte Carlo. And look at this, coming along really good. Got all our stems in. We've got Rotala Vietnam, Golden Nisea. We've got some S Repens, and then I threw the Dwarf Aquarium Lily over here. Originally I thought maybe I would put it up here, but I felt like, I don't know, I felt like maybe it would cover up the carpet a little bit too much, come a little too far. And then I thought actually it looks pretty good over in that corner to kind of finish out this lower background that I've got going on over here with the S Repens. That one probably needs to be trimmed, and I'm hoping they'll get just tall enough to where they'll be coming over here. If they don't get any taller, I'll figure something out. But here's what I'm thinking, guys, and this actually is next day from when I planted these stems, so we do have a little bit of melt going on here with the Nisea, and that's why you see a bunch of stuff floating around, which that's no big deal. That's to be expected to an extent, but all in all, everything's doing good. But I'm not, and I realize this is not grown in, but I'm not crazy about the Monte Carlo in here. Not to say I don't like Monte Carlo, but I'm not liking it for this tank. I'm loving this hairgrass, but I'm really feeling that I want this to be uniform all the way across the front. Originally I was thinking it'd be kind of sectionalized, but the way it is, it just feels like somebody cut the tank in half and put something over here and something over here. And I really feel like I just want this grass to just go all the way across. And especially, you know, a couple days into this, I'm really thinking I'm just going to pull this out, put it in a different tank. I've got 2 more cups of the hairgrass, so I'll plant those along through here. And if I need to, I'll pull a few plugs out of here to kind of finish it out. But I think that's what I'm going to do, guys. I think I'm going to pull this and bring the hairgrass over. Alright guys, tell me whether or not you agree, but I think I made the right choice pulling out the Monte Carlo and moving the hairgrass across. Obviously this side is a lot more sparse than this side, just because I went so heavy over here to begin with, because I thought this was the only place I was going to put it and I had a lot to work with. Otherwise I would have just made the whole thing look like this and just let it grow in on its own. But overall I think this scape has turned out really, really good, which obviously everything's stirred up right now. I got a bunch of stuff floating. That'll all clear up. But I think the hardscape turned out awesome. I think the plants look great. I think they're going to look even better as they grow in. I do think I might want to get maybe like some crypt parva or something in here, but then again, maybe this hairgrass will grow up enough to kind of take away that hard edge right there. We've got our pinnatifida coming in pretty good. It's starting to get a little more erect and open up a little bit after it's been in here a day or two. And I'm thinking I want to get some crypts, maybe some crypt lucens for here in this shady area, that little open spot underneath the wood. But yeah, I'm really excited about this, guys. I think it's going to look awesome the more it grows in. And I did put a plug of hairgrass back there and back there so that this area can kind of fill in on its own too. I didn't want to get in there digging around too much, planting a bunch of it back there, just because I didn't want to disturb the wood that I've got plugged down into the gravel there. But that'll fill in, and I think it's going to look awesome. And I'm not saying this because I put this together, but just honestly, I feel like this is the best aquascape I've ever done. I'm not saying it's pro quality by any means, but as far as aquascapes that I've done personally, this is easily the best looking one I have ever put together. And I am super excited to see this grow in. I'm excited to get fish in this. I do have some things picked out. I'm working on some things trying to get a hold of the fish I want. But I'm really, really, really excited about this tank. I hope you guys are too. And let me know what you think. What's your favorite part? What's your, you know, what's your favorite aspect about this tank? Is there something I should change? Is there something about this tank you're like, oh, you know what? It would just be so much better if you just did X, whatever it is. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know, or rather guess in the comments below what fish you think are going in here. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be something pretty awesome. We'll see how you guys feel about it once I can get a hold of them. I'm working on it though. But yeah, this is the scape, guys, and I am excited. Alright guys, that's what I got for you today. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. You guys are awesome. God bless you, fish nerds. I'll see you next time.